Welcome back to Holistic Healing Association. I am Erin Darcy. I'm certified in body processing and clinical hypnosis. Today, we will be discussing how trauma can have an impact on sex. I have with me Cicily, who is a trauma-informed therapist and specializes in sexual trauma and somatic experiencing. Thank you so much for joining us. And can you please start to tell us a little bit about yourself and the type of work you do?
Hello, Erin. Hello, everyone. I'm so delighted and honored to be here today. I'm a somatic experiencing practitioner, a transforming touch practitioner, a Tai Chi and Qigong master, and of course, a somatic sexuality and sexual trauma expert. As a somatic and trauma therapist, my work focuses on helping people rebuild safety and connection in their bodies, especially when early developmental or sexual trauma has made intimacy feel unsafe or confusing. My approach is deeply informed by the work of Dr. Peter Levine, the founder of Somatic Experiencing, Ariel Giaretto, who's teaching in somatic sexuality and sexual trauma resolution, has profoundly shaped how I work with the body and sexuality. Also, Dr. Stephen Terrell, whose Transforming Touch work offers such a beautiful way to restore safety and regulation through nurturing, attuned contact. I see this work as helping the nervous system remember what safety, tenderness, and connection can feel like again.
Thank you. And what kind of struggles can people with developmental trauma have with sex and intimacy?
Mm. When we grow up without consistent safety or attunement, our body learns to protect rather than open. So people with developmental trauma often long for connection, but feel flooded or anxious when it actually arrives. They may freeze or pull away or even feel nothing at all. It's not that they don't want to love. It's not that they don't want to feel love or closeness. It's just that their nervous system has learned to equate intimacy with danger.
What are some of the barriers that keep people from intimacy?
Fear is a big one. Fear of being seen, fear of being hurt again, or losing oneself in the other. Shame can also be powerful. Shame about our needs, our bodies, and our emotions. And sometimes the barrier is simply not knowing what safe connection feels like. Because it was never modeled earlier on. So our work becomes helping people and their bodies to rediscover what safe enough feels like and learning how to truly, work with trusting that in the body.
And how can someone begin to set a healthy foundation for sexual intimacy?
Um, so safety comes before pleasure, always. It's it's so important to know that you can say no and that your body signals will be respected. Small boundary exercises in the office that we could play with would be to ask a list of questions on likes and dislikes so that they are able to clearly distinguish and say yes to the things they like and no to the things they dislike. I often encourage people to start with gentle self touch, placing a hand on the heart or the cheeks, or simply feeling the warmth of their hands. Touch is our first language. It regulates and soothes us long before we have words. So, when partners can slow down and really listen to their bodies and to each other, intimacy grows naturally from that sense of safety.
That makes a lot of sense. And it would build so much more intimacy between the husband and the wife that they would feel so much more safe and
Mhm.
secure. And they would be more in tune with their own bodies and also their spouses, which
Absolutely.
would
Mhm.
help create a very strong foundation. What struggles do people with sexual trauma often face with sex and intimacy?
So, for many survivors, sex can feel like it's happening to them rather than with them. There can be flashbacks or triggers or a sense of leaving the body altogether. Sometimes people disconnect emotionally, going through the motions while feeling nothing. The path to healing begins with reclaiming agency, remembering that this body belongs to you and that pleasure and choice can coexist. Yeah.
And it all circles right around, like you just said, safety.
Hmm.
The first thing is safety.
So vital. Yeah.
And what advice would you give to someone beginning to heal from sexual trauma?
Go gently. Healing is not linear. So take your time, honor your boundaries, and find practitioners who work with the body because talk alone is not enough. Somatic work allows the body to complete what was once interrupted. And that's where deep, deep healing happens. It's about relearning what the body can that the body can be a safe place to live in again.
What do you see happening with couples who experience emotional numbness or disassociation in their sexual relationships?
It can be very painful. One partner might feel physically present, but emotionally far away. And that distance isn't about rejection, it's about protection. The body is saying, this feels too much right now. So the key is slowing down, softening, and approaching the numbness with curiosity rather than blame. So when partners can hold space for that, connection begins to return.
That makes sense because, again, the trust is being built. And if we can meet things with curiosity instead of blame and just allow, if we can have trust, it can start to soften. And gradually and naturally, people would start to dissociate less because we'd feel more safe.
So true.
When someone is emotionally numb or dissociated, what does sex feel like in the body?
It can feel mechanical, empty, or like you're not really there. Some people describe it as watching themselves from outside their body. That's a survival state. The nervous system is protecting you from overwhelm.
And what can someone do if they notice themselves dissociating during sex?
The first thing to do is pause. Just slow down and breathe. Feel the weight of your body, your feet, your toes, your hands, and basically your extremities. The air that you're breathing, feel that expansiveness. If you can tell your partner something like, I'm starting to feel far away, just naming helps bring you back. Over time, with gentle titration, moving in and out of connection safely, helps the body build trust all over again.
It's doing the repair.
Mm-hmm.
Makes so much sense. And how can trauma lead to sexually compulsive behaviors or hypersexuality, or even on the other hand, complete shutdown?
So, both are survival strategies. Some people move towards intensity using sex or stimulation to feel alive, to regulate overwhelming feelings. Others may move away, shutting down or avoiding sex completely. Underneath both is the same thing, the body trying to find a balance, trying to manage what once felt unmanageable. So instead of judging either response, I always invite compassion and curiosity. When there's curiosity, there's no trauma.
Okay, thank you. And how does pornography affect the nervous system? And how can trauma lead to sexual addiction?
So begin with compassion. Ask yourself, what am I seeking here? What am I trying not to feel? That awareness is powerful. Just being with the body. When we bring in that curiosity instead of shame, we create space for healing. And working somatically helps the body learn to stay present with discomfort instead of escaping it through compulsive behavior.
Makes perfect sense. Pornography affect the nervous system, and how can trauma lead to sexual addiction?
So, pornography can flood the system with dopamine, lots of intensity, and without real connection. For someone with trauma, that can mimic the trauma cycle, mimic the trauma cycle itself. High arousal, temporary relief, and then emptiness or shame. Over time, the nervous system begins to crave the artificial intensity while losing touch with genuine emotional connection. So the healing it's not about control or punishment. It's about helping the body feel and find regulation and aliveness in real presence, not just stimulation.
Because pornography can also impact the brain,
Mhm.
and it can easily turn into addiction, and it
Sure.
could be an escape from pain.
Mhm, mhm.
And what can someone do if they're struggling with pornography or sexual addiction?
Begin with compassion, always. Ask yourself, what am I seeking here? What am I trying not to feel? That awareness is powerful. When we when we bring in curiosity instead of shame, we create space for healing. We feel that expansiveness. And working somatically helps the body learn to stay present with discomfort in the body, and instead of escaping it through compulsive behaviors.
What kind of practices do you recommend for couples wanting to build trust and intimacy?
Start simple, eye contact, and breathing together, touch that feels non demanding, nurturing, moments of stillness where both can exist together. When partners slow down and attune without agenda, the nervous system begins to regulate together. That's co regulation. And that's the foundation for true intimacy.
And how does somatic processing impact relationships, such as family, intimacy, and sex?
When one person starts to regulate, everyone around them feels it. Somatic processing helps release the stored stress in the body and allows us to meet each other from presence rather than protection. It ripples outwards, affecting marriages, families, even how we parent and love. Safety becomes contagious.
Okay, thank you. And as you've been saying all along, safety is number one.
Mhm.
And we do respond to other people's nervous systems. And it can have an impact on us, and our nervous system can have an impact on others. And the same is even for our household pets, such as dogs, right? They feed off our nervous systems. Can parts work help with intimacy and sex?
Yes, absolutely. When we can recognize the different parts in us, the protector, who, the one who longs, the one who fears, we begin to hold them all with compassion. Parts work helps us understand that every part is doing its best to keep us safe. When those parts begin to relax, we can show up in relationship with more authenticity, softness, and connection.
Thank you. And what advice would you give people listening today who want to heal and deepen with intimacy?
Healing intimacy isn't about fixing or performing. Again, it's about safety, presence, and kindness. Start where you are. Listen to your body. Go slowly because intimacy begins with safety, and safety begins inside of you.
Thank you. Yes, compassion as well. Compassion for ourselves and compassion
For the
for everyone else, for our spouse and our family and our friends and everyone is so important. And giving ourselves grace and understanding and just starting to become more curious with ourselves and others. And there's always underlining reasons for behaviors and for symptoms coming out. And often it comes from a place of pain. And safety is the first step to healing. And that's also includes for sex and many other areas in our life. Well, thank you so much. It was an honor to have you. And thank you for giving us such deep advice and wisdom about a topic that's not always discussed, but it's a topic that we need to talk about more, is trauma and sex, because sex is a huge part of life and we need to be able to understand, especially when we're struggling with trauma, how it may be impacting us and how it's impacting our spouse. And through this, it can help strengthen relationships, because understanding is also a step towards healing.
So true. Thank you, Erin. It's been an honor to be here present with you today.
Well, thank you. And say hi to Peter next week for me. I know you'll be training with him next week. So yes, thank you very much.